Don't mind me, I was just looking at the Wii Shop channel. You know, there's actually a very special reason why I wanted to check it out today. You see, today is the release of a brand new WiiWare game. And I'm very excited for it. The Nintendo Wii and DSi Shop channel. Well, never mind then. These stores were both quite different from the eShop we know today. Instead of being able to buy DS and Wii titles digitally, one could buy smaller titles called WiiWare or DSiware. This could be done using a fake currency called Nintendo Points. These games range from smaller bites of bigger release games through the A Little Bit Off series, or the Express games if you're from the US, to ports of games to straight up entirely new games. But that's not where the fun ends. You see, if you were someone like me who never bought Nintendo Points, you still had the option to vibe out to some sweet tunes with the boys, as well as get some freebies like Flipnote Studio and the Skyward Sword Update channel. Truth be told, I never really checked out the shopping channel that often. Most of my DSiware experiences came from me snatching some games from the 3DS eShop before it closed. But that gives me the perfect opportunity to go back to some of the best DSiware and WiiWare applications ever made. I mean, weird applications have been around since before the DSi Shop was even established. How else could my 3-year-old self get rid of my crippling nicotine addiction? Now, I know there are many applications out there, but I want to specifically focus on some of the ones that looked incredibly useless to me. Maybe I'll be surprised by how good some of these actually are. So without further ado, let's start with some weird DSiware applications. Mario Calculator. It's a calculator with Mario. Yeah, it's basically just a Mario-themed calculator. However, there are some fun extras here. For one, you can do unit conversion with Luigi by walking through the pipe. Finally, I'll know how many meters a human has. Besides this, there really isn't much to talk about here. But for a $5 calculator, it has its charm. So knowing that there's an Animal Crossing variant made me feel very interested in seeing what kind of funny bonus features that one has. Okay, so besides the numbers, and only the numbers, being said in Animalese, Animal Crossing's fake language, there's literally nothing that makes this related to Animal Crossing. Originally, I thought that the age conversion with animals made sense here as an exclusive feature, before realizing while recording footage that Mario Calculator has this too. In other words, there's literally zero reason to get this over the Mario one. Like, if it would have villagers walking around or something, then at least I could see the appeal for getting this one over the Mario one stylistically. But this is just a calculator! Luckily, Nintendo realized that calculators aren't the only thing people need in this world. Sometimes, we need to realize how much time we have left in life. Animal Crossing Clock. This is an improvement. For one, you can actually put in the town tune that'll play every hour, similar to how the games play them every hour. The top screen actually has the clocks from City Folk and Wild World. On top of that, the background also reflects the time of day, and the app will loop between different characters to show. Overall, this is a much better presentation than what the calculator had to offer, and this is much more in line with what I was expecting from an Animal Crossing themed alarm clock. But of course, you can't have an Animal Crossing related application without there being a Mario variant that's 10 times better. Mario Clock, a clock that's somehow much better than the Animal Crossing one because to change things up for once, there's actually something to do here. You can run and jump, and when you collect 100 coins, you'll swap from Mario to Luigi and vice versa. Both of these clocks also allow you to change the alarms down to 3 different options related to their respective games. Or, if you feel really high and mighty, you can suffer the way my DS speakers did with unique voice lines. Now, that's a damn good reason as to why this app got nominated for Game of the Year 2009. Unfortunately, it got beaten out by another DSiware title. Flashlight. Take a wild guess at what this one does. Well, goddamn. Flashlight gives you a flashlight. Now, an observant viewer might have realized that the DS doesn't have a flashlight, and you'd be right. So, how did this genius app circumvent this problem? I spend my life savings on this. You get the choice between 3 types of flashlight. Regular, warning light, and the SOS light. Still following? No? Well, don't you worry. We also have a manual to help us learn how to use the app and how to change colors? Holy fuck, I take it back. This is everything I wanted in life. Anyways, that's enough about flashlight. Let's go back and check up with Nintendo to see what they... Another clock? Okay, so we had a Mario-themed and an Animal Crossing-themed clock. So, what will Photo Clock offer? Oh. Yeah, it's basically just the same thing as before. But this time, you can put a screenshot of our Lord and Savior on it. This fucking sucks. Luckily, we also have some stuff that isn't a clock. The Nintendo DSi Instrument Tuner and Metronome. Yeah, I can't think of a single soul who'd use these things. So this US exclusive app actually does something different compared to all the previous things I've talked about. It's actually interesting to use. Starting off, both of these apps come with a free game depending on the app. For the tuner, you'll have to get the correct pitch to pop balloons, and for the metronome, you need to make a noise on the beat to make Mario jump over barrels. Even though one of them doesn't pitch correctly, either this thing is really out of sync or my clarinet is really low. What the hell? And the other is incredibly cheesable. That's cheating by a mile. There are still actual fun little additions that make paying for something like this more worth it. Especially today when you could easily just look for one of these things on the App Store or even on Google for a free alternative. But hey, instead of an ad-filled metronome, you can go to the DSi Shop channel and... on top of that, you also get cool little themes for your metronome. Look, this one looks like a Game & Watch. Speaking of the metronome specifically, you can actually record your own sound for the metronome, which can lead to insanely good tunes. That's something. And with the instrument tuner, besides being able to, you know, tune your instrument incorrectly, you can jam out to some tunes with the keyboard. So overall, these are some cool little apps with some cool little features. Unfortunately, this was a US exclusive, so my European ass couldn't actually play it. But luckily, we also got a cool exclusive. Dictionary 6-in-1. Wait, really, that's it? Yeah, it's a dictionary, alright. You write a letter, hope to God this thing knows what you're writing, and then you wait until you can find the word you were looking for. From there on out, you can check its translation, and that's about it. There's also a camera mode for translating sentences. If the goddamn thing works! I cannot get this camera function to work at all. At this point, just use goddamn Google Translate. I get that this might have been useful back in the day, but there's zero reason to use this with the tools we have today. Hell, I'd argue that using a regular translation book would be easier. Anyway, let's get back to our usual schedule of time-related apps with Nintendo Countdown Calendar. When we first boot up the calendar app, we need to make a profile for ourselves. Once you're done with that, you can start planning activities in a calendar by writing stuff down. Why did they make this? Like, if you were able to type stuff, at least I could understand somewhat, since you could argue it's more organized that way. But in this case, why not just use a paper calendar? Like, I feel like the differences in speed of opening up a calendar or having to open up your DSi, make sure it's charged, open up the app, having to log in to only to check what you're planning today, it's just a hassle. On top of that, this calendar has nothing that makes it stand out compared to the Mario and Animal Crossing themed apps, which makes it even more confusing that this seems to have such a higher budget. Why did this app get background music while the clock and calculator apps didn't? I don't get it. Like, what makes this countdown calendar so much more important than the clock app? Well, besides the fact that the DSi menu already has a clock, making those apps like 70% more useless. But the calculator apps could have at least have some music in the background. It didn't even have to be new music. They could have just put a song from Wild World in it. In fact, why didn't the clock app just have the hourly music from the games that you could toggle on and off? That would have been something cool. Now, when the world needed them most, they finally came back. That's right, from the creators of Nobel Prize-winning app Flashlight, we have Disco Light. They are really putting the disco in Disco Light with this one. On the menu, we get the option between 6 different they're just light effects again. I checked them all out, and I'll be honest, I cannot figure out what the difference is between these 6 modes. Not even the manual has any explanation for it. The music also just stops when you're in one of these modes, so I'm going on a limb here and assume that these are all just the same thing. My favorite by far is the secret 7 button that just gives you a black screen. Casa Solutions, you've really broken the mold with this one. There is one more piece of DSiware I found that I want to go over from Nintendo themselves. Mainly, it's another clock. Sleep Clock, because God forbid there being any less than 5 different clock apps on this thing. Now, Sleep Clock is an interesting one, since it actually tries to be different from the other clock apps. First of all, apparently it took notes from my complaints of 30 seconds ago because it actually added background music. On top of that, this app has sheep! Dun dun, Game of the Year, Switch 2 Part 1. Generally though, this sheep is adorable. If you tap on him, he'll talk about his own life, like how he has a crush on Miss Alpaca, his born rival who he competes against in the Fluff or Duff competition. He even puts on a bow tie in a separate menu. I am shaking, he's too adorable. Sleep Clock tries to have a higher focus on, well, your sleep. By including a sleep graph where you can input how long you've slept at a certain time, you can track your sleep schedule. Besides that, it's basically just the same thing as before. Alarm clock, sheep sounds, you know the drill. You know, I could easily start complaining about how many clock apps this thing has, but almost all of them offer something unique. Although it could be that currently I'm just being incredibly biased towards sheep. As a matter of fact, there is actually one more clock I didn't go over. It's called Aquarium Clock. It's a clock with an aquarium in the background. The coolest feature about this clock is how I could barely find anything about it and couldn't play it because this is a Japanese exclusive and my DSi exploded when I tried to launch it. Next up, the My applications by No. My Postcards allows you to make or use a picture to write a postcard. You can even add a little stamp once you're done writing. So what do you do with these postcards? Well, you look at them. That's about it. If you really feel like your postcard is life-changing, you can save it to your DSi camera app. Finally, a good picture for my clock. My Diary, on the other hand, is a diary app. You basically get a note every day which you can write whatever you want in. The more you write, the more color and ink options become available, even though you can only use one at a time. Not much to be said here. It's interesting for what it is, I suppose. To finish things off, we have My Notebook. And this is definitely a notebook, alright. So, if you own any of the DS family of systems, you'll probably know that there is only one touchscreen, while a notebook has a page on the left and on the right. So how would one deal with that in this situation? Well, a logical person would say that all pages are just on one screen, mainly the touch screen. And My Notebook asks you to rotate your DSi with every subsequent page. Whose idea was this? Now, I'm definitely making a bigger deal out of this than necessary, considering it takes 2 seconds to rotate a DS. But I feel like it's just really inconvenient. On top of that, you can just move 2 pages with the press of a single button, meaning the one-page functionality is essentially already in here. And on top of that, you know how else I could easily write down notes? With a notebook. Hell, if I really wanted to write stuff down on my DSi, I would have just used Flipnote Studio. You know, the free application. But hey, who knows? Maybe I'm just not understanding the genius of My Notebook. It must have been a big deal to all DS owners considering they made 6 different versions. That's a win for My Notebook and a loss for Pokemon. Overall, I could definitely understand why some of these apps got made, like the clock and calculator apps. But other apps like the notebooks just made me wonder what the point was of even making this in the first place. Like, there is no benefit to making it digital here, especially as a DSi app. I think a good way to improve something like this is to look at something like personal trainer cooking. At first glance, you could say, why not just use a cookbook? But in this case, there are additions that could only work as a digital title, like Chef, who will narrate the steps for you so you can continue cooking without having to read the steps yourself, as well as voice input so you don't have to press any buttons with your dirty hands to go to the next page. Some of these additions give personal trainer cooking a valid reason to exist. Most of the DSiware I covered here, on the other hand, could easily be replaced by their real-life counterparts. And that's not to say that none of the apps we've checked had a reason to exist. Mario and Animal Crossing Clock work because they have a certain theme to them that works well for the DSi. It's just apps like My Notebook and Dictionary 6-in-1 that confuse me on this topic. But enough said about the DSi. What about its older brother, the Wii? Well, I spent a good few hours going through every single WiiWare title I could find, but none of them were really in the same field of uselessness as My Diary. However, after doing some more digging, I think I might have found a bit to talk about. Mainly, the return of my nicotine addiction. The cigars were just too much fun to smoke, I guess. If only I could find a way to quit. Luckily, thanks to Japan, we have Rakuraku Kinen Appli Wii Kine... Kinenka no Isha ga Oshiru Nanoka de Yamaru Hoho. Which, for the rest of this video, I'm just gonna refer to as Smokey McFiddlesticks. Smokey McFiddlesticks is a WiiWare title created to help quitting a smoking addiction. When you first boot up the game, you choose your character or a me. After that, we get our introductory conversation into the app, where we have to answer a few questions. So, I answer as honestly as I can. I smoke 114 packs of cigarettes a day. Every pack costs 2,000 yen per package, which only contains 1 cigarette. Which means that every day I smoke about 228,000 yen worth of cigarettes. After getting told that I desperately need help, which I brush off as the game just trying to scare me, I end up in the main menu. From here, you can check your smoking history, you can fill in a diary on how your day went in terms of smoking, go into the settings, find many different info sources on how to quit smoking, or most importantly, the option to start a no smoking timer. When you start your no smoking timer, the woman, whose name I do not know, decides to thank us for stopping and let us think of a reason as to why I would want to stop, before booting me back to the main menu. And that's it. Yeah, either my Japanese isn't good enough to find out if there's anything else to do in Smokey McFiddlesticks, or the 114 cigarettes in my mouth decided it was better to stay away from this app. Instead, let's make a postcard for the holidays with Happy Holidays Christmas. I mean, with the speed I make videos at, surely I will be able to finish this video by Christmas. First, we choose a tree and decorate it with some cool ornaments. After that, we choose a location. I particularly like the void. And after placing some stickers, we finish up by choosing some music. Then it's finally time to... So, considering Wii Connect 24, Nintendo's online service, has been dead for a decade, this app is completely unusable. The moment you finish making a postcard, you'll get an error message and then booted back to the main menu. No way to see or even save your postcards, and no way to send or receive them. Sure, there might be ways to get this kind of connectivity back, but if you think I'm going through that effort for Happy Holidays Christmas, then you really think too highly of me. It's safe to say that this thing is as dead as it can be. Luckily, we have fucking goddamn it. Happy Holidays, Halloween. It's the same fucking thing. You start with choosing one of two identical looking characters, which you can then customize. I don't really know if this counts as much customization. Like, if you wanted this to be a unique postcard that has specifically your own character on the front, you could have, I don't know, used the avatar maker that came with the console. It's not like WiiWare apps weren't able to access Mii's. A lot of the apps use them, like Pokemon Ranch, for example. Anyway, the rest is basically the same. We choose a location, spam some cats, put on news fun tattoos before God smite us for even attempting to make this piece of art happen. Moving on, we have Cozy Fire. To start, we choose a location and then there. Yeah, Cozy Fire is essentially just a virtual fireplace, which is much easier to use than a real fireplace. Trust me, I know. Now don't be fooled, there is some gameplay going on here. See, the logs slowly burn up over time, so from time to time, you'll have to add logs to the fire. Though being the lazy shit I am, we can also just choose to not do that with the non-stop fire and butler modes. I think this really might be my type of game. If only there was another game that did the exact same thing and oh boy, fireplacing. I mean, do I really have to explain this one? Granted, this one does have a few extra features. In this one, you also need to stoke the flames by shaking the Wii remote. And on top of that, you get multiple camera angles. Truly, if fireplacing isn't the peak of WiiWare, I don't know what is. I've been showing you a YouTube video. Yeah, there really isn't any point to use these apps. And even for its time, this really felt like it wasn't worth the money. This feeling is especially true after YouTube launched their own app on the Wii. At that point, just pull up a video or something. And nowadays, you know, I'm pretty sure it's faster to get a YouTube video on your TV than using your Wii. Unfortunately, that's where our fireplace adventure ends. But luckily, for every fire that's created, something fish. My aquarium! You watch fish inside an aquarium, and once again, there's stuff to do here. I'm really running out of things to say here. You can decorate your aquarium, change the lighting, background, etc. You can add and unlock more fish and put in a special date. On this day, your fish will do a special dance. I never said it would look impressive. Besides that, you can also send your aquarium to your friends. Never mind. At the end of the day, this is still just a screensaver like fireplacing. As much as there may be a lot of customizing here, it doesn't change the fact that you could easily just pull up a YouTube video. That being said, for what it is, I wouldn't say it's the worst thing I've seen. And I'm sure many will agree, considering this thing got a sequel. Putting up My Aquarium 2, we immediately see the option to purchase DLC. Once again, everything is here from the first game, like the dancing, the decorating, but with a few new additions. This time we get to change the foreground lighting by pressing 1 and 2. The decorating system also works with a grid system, and besides that, we have DLC. Yeah, this is basically just the exact same app, just with different lighting and different fish. What surprises me most is that this isn't even scratching the surface of aquatic-related titles on WiiWare, let alone the Wii. If we're specifically looking at WiiWare, we'd have Aquaspace, which at least has some fun quirks like camera angles and letting your Mii swim inside of an aquarium. For some reason, they really love these save screen type of games on WiiWare. And some of them, like My Pokemon Ranch, at least made sense and add some cool bonus features like minigames. But most of these apps on WiiWare are really just redundant. That's not to say that there aren't any good apps on the Wii out there, but most of them are either already on the console from the beginning or were Japanese exclusives like Wii no Ma. Overall, while there might be a lot of good WiiWare and DSiware apps out there, there's also a lot of useless junk out there. But that just goes to show how different times were back then. Smartphones weren't as big of a thing then, and calculator apps and metronomes were very interesting to see in a digital manner like this. Trust me on this, I was like 5 back then. Though, as time went on, these apps slowly became redundant. Unlike your flashlight and disco light for the Nintendo DS, these things will go down as the greatest apps in the history of history. Thanks for watching me rambling on about WiiWare and DSiware. It was a lot of fun going through these apps and seeing what kinds of things there were out there. There are some apps that I didn't cover in this video, but who knows, might be a fun idea to go back and check them out later on. Anyways, I gotta go back to smoke my next 67th cigarette.